been some time, so I have to say something about this. Um, the really the they're just patterns of the patterns of activity. And the activity of the body is there. My activity is there. I'm not happy about something. More sensitive actually, and there's more sensitivity post awakening than before. The pain is twice as hard. There's more sensitivity. And the sensitivity, because it's double, it's triple, quadruple, it's just pure, it just expresses itself totally. It directly reflects, does not take some light in and reflects the rest. It reflects it totally. Just there's just like various effects of the mind, various um, worlds that can appear. You go to a new place and you feel something different. Something in the that pops out in the games. Like it's not visual, it's not physical, right? But it's just something in the game itself. It's a feature in the game, still in the world, metaphysical. But you feel it. You send a message to somebody, and then you feel that this is what they felt, and then that's what they feel. You become more sensitive to conditioning, and more sensitive to there's the subtle thoughts of conditionings, and it's really interesting. So initially you start to first become subtler and subtler in your expression, more and more subtle. But then later you start to become more sensitive to the condition of like the thoughts, and like you can communicate without words. You can feel the need of somebody without them saying it. You can feel how their next intentions without them having to say. You can just, it's part of the communication expands. It's no longer just words. There is like many, all the entire communication is open. The entire you could say satellite is just open, like to receive all types of wavelengths, all types of signals, kind of like that. And then when something is done, you forget about it. You just, you can stay for a while, intense, even too intense, and then you just move on as if it didn't even exist. There's a calmness underneath, like it's just there. Yeah. And the body is really in a situation where it's everything naturally that occurs to the human occurs to, so I go into biases, into fixations of thinking, and there's a flexibility where I can get out of it and come back into it. It's like this art where black and white going into each other. Changes in perspective happen more fluidly. I start to draw something and I feel like more feminine. Sometimes I express something feminine and then I come back and become more rigid. There's this flexibility where you can just move between perceptions, between ways of thinking. It's just you don't prefer a perception over another, female over male or male over female. You don't prefer like being this type of person over that type of person, this idea over that idea all the time. You have the fluidity to switch between them. Yeah. But it's true also that some perception can stick and you can just stick with it. And that's true in the moment, and then it just sticks and remains. Until it gets integrated, until something is totally expresses itself, and then it can get integrated. So life is just being, in a way, integrated into, you could say, it's marinating into the body and the mind and the heart. It's just becoming part of who I am, and it's just not. There's no layer to say, well, no, I'm going to be that person instead. Because I have like a trauma and I'm like hiding. I'm blocking all these signals, not learning from them anything. And I'm gonna block all of them for the sake of being this person and being this character in order to protect myself from the other perceptions, from breaking my character, from going into the vulnerability. So I'm just gonna have a reactionary character. That's the trauma. The trauma creates a reactionary character. It's easier to be the character and to be saved by the character than to actually face the pain. That's the thing about the trauma thing. And that's really all characters are just out of control. You become a character, you play with it a little bit, then it breaks, and then another one gets created, and you don't want to break it, but it just breaks, and then some other character. You move between life and death, like all the time. Right? You become alive, and if something works for you, if you're happy, and you break when something doesn't work for you. And you can say, well, is that a wisdom? Is there wisdom behind it? Is this like long-term thinking? Is this good for the human being in the long term? Well, that's a possibility, but it doesn't have to be good for anybody. You have like a very long-term plan, right? You say, oh, this is gonna be good in the long term. It's a wise plan. It's very wise, something like that. But when it's so long-term, so long-term that it doesn't even have a benefit for anyone. So something is beautiful about it, because it's a long-term to infinity. So it doesn't really work for anybody, but it's just beautiful. It's just beautiful. It doesn't need to work. It can or cannot work. Who am I for it to work for me? Am I that important? Like, may or may not. You live and see. So that's the infinite long-term thinking. So yeah, everything is just taken as it is. It's just purely expressing itself. Yeah, that's all. That's all I have to say.